This leads to the fourth stage. Think of this like a growing cancer that's becoming more and more malignant and inoperable. And this is the worst of all. You're tumbling down the cascade of invisibility. That with all this stuff you've got to pay attention to, you've dismantled your ability to earn and to keep earning. You're feeling isolated, let alone you're confused by your identity being at work. You're confused about the fact you can't keep up with all the technology, and now the commoditization trap has gotten a hold of you. What is commoditization? It means that buyers are buying on nothing other than price. Everybody in their eyes pretty much looks the same. And folks, I'm sure you know that commoditization is happening on every front in most industries. It's happening because of the internet and the way the customer is learning how to buy. Creative destruction is happening day by day. Creative destruction means that most of the business that you had at the highest price, because you could justify it through value, if you're not looking at sustaining that, if you're not creating and inventing, and you're not coming up with new ways, inventing new markets, guess what happens? You're obsolete, man. You're out of the picture. That's scary for an entrepreneur. When an entrepreneur loses confidence, when he loses confidence in the market, he loses confidence in his ability to manage himself and what he has, he loses confidence in his hope in a bigger future. That is the red line for an entrepreneur. It's DEFCON 1. And I see it happening all the time. I see it happening, but there's a necessary lie. You'd love to have the world believe that it's not happening. I mean, hey, you got into your own business, you fired the boss, you probably told a bunch of your critics that, hey, you could do this. It was all about persistence and rigor and tenacity. And who would want to go back to them and say, I don't know if it's really all coming together, but you might be dying a slow death inside. What happened to the entrepreneur? The entrepreneur somehow slipped out, and the technician has taken over. The doer, the tactician. But something I learned early in my career working with hundreds of people is the tactician never wins. The strategist does. But where are you going to find the time? You're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, I know I need to change some things, but where am I going to find the ability to do this? How am I going to find the time? And then you suddenly realize that it's not about time. That by virtue of being experienced enough as you are, and I hope you are, you're comfortable with the fact that it's about priorities. It's not about time. We all have the same amount of time. Bill Gates, Donald Trump, everybody has the same amount of time. The bum on the Bowery, I have the same amount of time, you have the same amount of time. So how do you get it done? How do you stop so that you can go faster? How do you stop and think so that you can get better? You just do. You make it a priority to go to work on your business. You make it a priority to work on your business. Not just in your business, but you make it a priority to work on your business. You make it a priority to stop and look at what you're doing. See the playing field. Don't miss the causal elements of a problem. See the entire problem. But you've forgotten how to stop because you think it is underrated. It's hard to stop, but I'm asking you to change your priorities. I'm asking you to maybe fundamentally relook at how you're operating because you've gotten on this fast track and you're trying to keep up. It's like you're spinning on this treadmill, but you're not getting any traction. The law of short reverse says that we have to go 2 inches down or 2 feet down to go 2 more inches or 2 feet higher. A quarterback in the football game has to go several steps back in order to make a better pass forward. You have to take a couple of steps back to go a couple of steps forward. And that is a perspective. And if you don't carry that perspective, guess what you're going to do? You're going to continue doing what you've always done, and you're going to be expecting different results. Well, Einstein said it clearly. He said that we can't solve the problems with the level of thinking that we have. We need to change our level of thinking. Because the level of thinking that we have has caused the problems that we're in. We can't solve it with the same level of thinking. So, can you honestly say that you're going to change much with the level of thinking and the level of habits and the way that you're approaching things and what you've come to know so far? No. What got you here will not get you there. So really think about what I'm saying. Now, most of these entrepreneurs, when they hit these thresholds, when these conditions I'm describing to you are coming in, when the settings are there and the signals are strong, what's happening is they can't get to anything that's important. And despite the fact that there's opportunity everywhere we look, but the complexity is drowning us. The commoditization is occurring at a high level. So what are you going to do about it? How long can you afford to wait until you act on this? This whole phenomenon that I'm talking about, this entire frustration and isolation and confusion, is something we call the plateau of progress. And the two sides of it is you can't get to anything that's really important to you, so your planning is backsliding and your execution is backsliding. You can't get any traction. Or you got so much going on. There's so much in the universe. It's so exciting, all the sales, all the business, all the neat things that are going on. You have no time to think or plan. And I'm going to bet something about you. I'm going to bet that about a year ago, you realized this. You realized that it wasn't coming together as you thought it would. You didn't have the freedom that you expected, only interference. And your confidence started to turn to doubt. And I'm going to bet that about a year ago, you decided to change something. But you haven't done anything about it yet. And I'm going to also bet that about 2 or 3 years ago, your income pretty much plateaued, and it's been that way for a while. And the thought of going to another level, of jumping to that whole new level, means a lot of hours and a lot of hard work. I'm also going to bet that you're comfortable enough with your own ignorance to realize that you have to change in order to move to that next level. That change is inevitable. It may not be fun to change, but what to change? What do you change? You need to change your habits, you need to change your support structure, and you need to change the relationships that you interact with. You may also need to change your thinking if that's in your way as well. In our focusing program, we find that entrepreneurs, their livelihood, their future is based on those three things. Support structure, what they have around them to support them, what relationships they have the unfair advantage of choosing those relationships, and their own habits. In order to move to a whole new level, they need a whole new set of habits to go to that level. So how do we do it? How do we support them? What's the change effort? What's the process that we go through? Well, I know that as you go through life, you're going to be asked to define success. So let me define you our version of success. Success means creating what matters to you. If you're looking at how you use your time, ask yourself, am I using time toward what matters to me? Time management is about organizing your decisions around what matters to you and whether you're actually spending time on things that matter to you. I know that you have a set of very sincere, dynamic, genuine interests about the future. You wouldn't have gotten here if you didn't have some goal or some aspiration. I would also imagine that you have some unique gifts, that you have an X factor, a personal gift, and if you look back at most of the accomplishments that you've had in your career, you'd find that you had this personal gift, this attribute, this thing that always worked for you that made you come out on the winning side. So my definition of success is simple: creating things that matter to you. That means being on purpose. What does being on purpose mean? You know, Stephen Covey talks about being on purpose. What does living on purpose mean? Living in an on-purpose state means that you focus your X factor, your gifts, toward your interests. You focus your strengths, your superior strengths that you have a passion for, toward your interests. Now, I know you love the idea. You love the idea of that. You go, wow, that's a neat idea. But the implementation of it is the trick.